not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Welcome to the Mick Bazzuly Show, brought to you by RP Summit, putting money in businesses' pockets for 20 years. Visit rpsummit.com. Now, here's Mick.
Okay. 3:02 on a Freaky Friday here in Fort Lauderdale. Always great to be back at the Bazsuly Studios here in Fort Lauderdale. I've been doing kind of a round robin for the last 6 months. I mean, first over in Vegas doing some radio out there, and then, of course, now on the west coast of Florida on 10:10 a.m. Just about every day. Kind of love it here in South Florida. Good to see some old friends, some new ones. Fort Lauderdale still looks like the land of the Walking Dead. I mean, no matter how you look at it, season's over. Everybody's heat blasted, if they're not blasted out of their minds anyway. Markets today are turning up. It's Friday. It's the end of the day, the weekend. No volatility. Dow's up about 30 points. NASDAQ down about 25. And you should have seen them last week on what was it, Monday? Okay, some of my friends in the brokerage business, they looked like walking cadavers in suits. I mean, the Walking Dead had nothing on them. They were just ready to lay down and drop dead. I told them, don't panic. Everything's going to be all right. And sure enough, it all turned around. You know, the markets came storming back. And that shows you just how well the economy is doing. And what a great job. Like them or don't like them, you can't take away from the fact that the President of the United States has turned this economy around. We are the envy of the world. And I've traveled and I've spoke to people on different shows. I've made the round robin myself, and everybody is so hot to trot. There's no sign that this economy is going to die anytime soon. This is not a flash in the pan. The gloom and doom of Mark Cuban when Trump was elected and all the others. You know, when the market was at 16,000 and 15,000. Today it's at 25, 26,000. It's just miraculous what he's done as far as job creation. You know, take a look at the jobs, just the way they work. It's just phenomenal what's happened out there. And he's done a miraculous job, and you can't take away from it. Unemployment, 50, 60-year lows, more people working now than ever worked before. And that's just amazing. Look at me, I'm working. I mean, I got a job, for God's sakes. It's great. We got a nice a bunch of guests coming on. Look at this. I always get these calls, you know, just when I go on the air. It's been like that forever. They wait for me to go on there just to torture me. But we got a couple of great guests. You know, a lot of people have been talking about this, all the good stuff happening with the cannabinoid industry. Now you have the FDA's involved. They're going out. They recognize the fact that the stuff does work. You can see it everywhere. I mean, gas stations are selling it. Coca-Cola's getting into it. Monsanto's getting into it. Costco. Walmart, Walgreens, they're getting into it. It's just a phenomenal thing that's happened here, and people are getting crazy over it. But there's only a handful of companies out there that are actually making money. Out of all the people that got into it, how many of them have already gone by the wayside? You know, they put all their money into it, and they realize something. Well, wait a minute, we don't have any marketing. We don't know where to buy it. We don't know how to do this. You don't know how to do the business, and you get into the business. Well, we got a couple of people who can help you get into the business. We got a couple of people that are in the business. And we're going to go to phones right now. Got a nice little company right out of Washington State. Got a Series 3, Tier 3 license. Most coveted license in the United States is a Tier 3. They can do anything with it. But they're also not only a grower, but they are expanding their plant, and they're now going into the CBD business. Mr. Wright, are you on the phone? Let's talk to Bill Wright from Seagrowth Capital. Bill,
hey,
are you there?
Mick, how you doing?
Good. You know, I just brought it up, and it's a funny thing that you have it on. I was talking to some of the people here in production. I've had a lot of companies on, but I haven't had anyone that is 2-tier like you are, and soon to be 3-tier. Once you get into your own squeezing with a NASDAQ company, you're going to have a pretty good run with. You'll have all three things: marketing, the actual grow, the squeezing, the packaging, and the actual sell of the CBD, CBG oil. I mean, that's kind of phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now there's so much opportunity. I mean, seed to sale, there's opportunity in the entire pipeline.
Your facility's in Washington State. You've had it now, and you're looking to expand it. It's an indoor facility. You do some outdoor growing, but it's basically you're looking to triple your capacity. I saw the outline where you could actually quadruple it once you get to the point where you're looking at $10 to $12 million a year just in net off this product, because of the indoor facility can harvest, I believe, twice. Am I right?
Yeah, we can harvest more than that.
Really?
It's a 47-acre facility. It used to be an industrial facility, so really great power. Power's cheap out in eastern Washington. We have our own water and well, so we don't pay for that. Everything is contained on site, and we're only actually utilizing the property probably 15%. So the ability to expand is enormous. We've got an approved SEPA that allows us to put another 100,000 square feet of building on, and the current operator that we have there is growing on 7 acres currently, including the indoor that they're doing. So it's kind of endless at this point in terms of where we can go with it.
Right, and there is a demand. I mean, you sell everything you grow, you pre-sell it. And the problem is there's a shortage of the product right now, because a lot of people don't realize that the hemp plant and the marijuana plant are the same thing. Only thing is the hemp plant is harvested when it's young before the TCP takes hold. It's got to be tested constantly. And once it gets to 2%, that's when it's got to be harvested right there and then, or else you could burn your crop. And that's what I was told by several growers, that they're constantly testing their plants.
Yeah, so it's definitely two different markets. We started with the real estate piece, and then have a really strong partnership with our operator, working with the legalized cannabis in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
We've been very careful to work within the federal laws and so forth as this sort of matures, and so we're kind of ready to pounce on it. The big game changer, though, was with the Farm Bill passing in 2018, and another nod to Trump and his group moving that along, and it's now opened up the door for us to take advantage of what we have and really kind of blow this out of the park. The CBD market is going to quickly jump ahead of that legalized cannabis for the time being, just because it opens it up nationwide. Yeah,
they're projecting by 2021 that the CBD market will be $290 to $370 billion a year. That's phenomenal. That's bigger than liquor and bigger than soda. I mean, that's just when you look at it. And now with the FDA involved, it's funny because I'm learning a lot about this. Every day you seem to learn more and more. Now, most of the CBD products out there that people are buying have maybe trace CBD in there. And the FDA is getting involved, and now they're going to require, they're pushing for it, that these people are getting ripped off. They're getting smoked. What has to happen is they're going to be putting on there, how much of a percentage? Is it 50%? Is it 60? Is it 80? Is it 90? And that's where the problem lies. And that's why the FDA is getting involved. They're tired of these snake oil salesmen ripping the public off. There's nobody out there watching the pot.
Right. Well, I think you talk about defining a market in the hundreds of billions of dollars, and what I think people don't realize is, CBD helps with nausea, pain relief, anxiety, anti-inflammatory, all these things, and as it makes its way into the over-the-counter prescription drugs, it becomes a global marketplace. It's going to be huge. I don't think people have really looked that far out just to how expansive this market will wind up being. So it's not just about selling a cream or a tincture. I mean, it's wholesale distribution. It's really kind of controlling biomass, everything, isolate, distillate, that whole process. There's so much opportunity in this market, and it's gonna be staggering. I mean, we're probably just scratching the surface in people's awareness. You talk about 4% of the people probably know about it. So there's your market for it.
Right. It's an embryo as far as it goes. Somebody described it to me the other day. It isn't even an industry in its infancy. It's still an embryo. More and more discoveries. There are 100 different applications of CBD oil, which I didn't know. That's what we know right now. They've come out with CBG. They've come out with CB. There's another one. Every month something new is discovered. I know it works very well. In fact, the Veterans Administration gave it its support with PSTD. I mean, and that's people seem to be relaxed. And just to clarify it for the listeners, CBD oil doesn't have any hallucinatories in it. The TCP is not in there. It's pure. It's under 2%. In some cases, it's trace, and some is actually zero. So you're not going to go ahead and do this, and it's like eating wild mushrooms off a log. You're not going to skits out running down the street half naked. It's really, you don't even know it. You put it under your tongue, or it comes in different varieties. You can chew it. You can honey sticks. You got gummy bears. You got pets. Now for pets, which we talked about, pets are getting involved, and you're going to come out with a pet line also. But, you don't get high. This is completely legal, all 50 states, Canada, and around the world. I mean, it's really, it's turning into some sort of like a wonder drug.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely non-psychotropic. You're right. The trace amount, if any, of THC is almost non-existent. And so there's really nothing to be concerned about from a consumer standpoint. It is definitely an embryo. We got a huge market ahead of us, huge market.
Well, I remember in 2017 when Pot Network first came on my show, they had just started. They're doing somewhere between 40 and 45 million a year now in sales, through several thousand retail outlets, but most of their stuff is online, as is Leafy Well and some of the others that started on my show. But the problem with these companies, from a company standpoint, from a shareholder standpoint, is they went and sold their souls to the devil because they took in $2, $3, $4 million in a convertible loan, convertible debenture, which completely diluted the hell out of their stock. You've got a different business plan than that. You refuse to take any convertible money.
Yeah, back in the day, we had a few of those on a small scale, and we kind of weeded them out and got control of that. Have not really put any shares out, in over 3 years. I think there's appropriate times to utilize your stock. I mean, we're all small cap, whether you're a small cap or a New York Stock Exchange company. The stock is there for a reason. It's utilized to help grow and capitalize, so you can do different things like this. But we've looked at it as it can be a slippery slope, and you can get into a trap where you can't get out from under it. So we're pretty proud of the fact that we're not in that position. We've been cleaning up the balance sheet as we go, and now we're able to take that asset that we talked about, that 47 acres,
right,
which has a lot of value to it, and we'll leverage that. We'll utilize that asset
conventional
to
loan
now expand and move into it. Absolutely. So we're not going to get into any kind of debenture type situation. It'll be, we'll settle into more of a longer term financing piece on that. It'll be good for everybody, good for all the shareholders, good for the company. We're excited. We're hoping that'll get nailed down here in the next week or two, and we're off to the races.
Yeah, and I do know that you've been striving with the CBD as far as getting your logos together, your name. You possibly could even do a spin out down the road and make it a subsidiary and a separately trading entity, which is what some of the companies did. I'll give you an example. Rocky Mountain High Beverage, they began with me, Jerry Grisafi, who was the president and founder. He began, I believe it was in 2016 or 17. Again, he got caught up in the capitalization of the company for $1.5 million. He just sold his control block out to a Chinese organization that paid him, I think, according to the filings I read, $3.4 million just for his control block. And what they've done is, now that the convertible has emptied out, they did, I believe, 100-to-1 reverse. Rocky Mountain High Beverage is RMHB, and there's a D at the end of it now. And I believe the D means you got 30 days till the reverse is finalized. So you want to stay away from any. I've spoken to companies, and again, it's like selling your soul to. You sell your shareholders out a lot of times with these debentures that can get convertible and basically dilute your company down to where you have no alternative but to reverse it down the road, and that hurts people. That hurts shareholders. And I can appreciate you trying to stay away from that, which is what I would say to anybody. Try and do something more conventional or sell off some of your own control block to try and raise money to feed your company. That seems to be the way to go to save it.
Sorry about that. Yeah, there's, you look at, you mentioned Pot Network, and by the financing that they did does become dilutive, but they also now are doing 40+ million a year in revenue.
Double-edged sword.
They wouldn't have.
You're right.
They would not have done that without that, and so that's the idea. So the idea is to balance, though, right? So they're working through. Okay, we now have a very strong revenue base, and as we see this market mature, they're going to be very ripe for other people, and their stock may be looked at as being overvalued, undervalued. That's not for me to judge, but at some point, you get these larger companies that now want these companies that have matured in their revenue, and you're going to have a canopy growth that's going to drop $1 billion into this marketplace like they did up in Canada. You're going to see tons of money coming in, whether it's through Coca-Cola or as canopy growth is, or anybody. Money is coming in. So, they've done a good job of staking a little bit of a spot, and they've got a good start. And, shareholders, whether they're believe in the overall story or not, that's up to them. We're taking a little bit different approach. We're looking at the same market, similar market spaces in terms of opportunity, just with a different share structure, right? So we're not looking to get in that trap, and so we won't have that overhang. We won't have that pressure. As things start to go, we'll let it go. We can continue to let it go, let it breathe, and shareholders can benefit from it instead of it being held down because somebody's needing to get out of a debt position.
Right. We're on with Bill Wright, president of Seagrowth Capital. Their symbol is CGRA. They're trading on the OTC, and we're talking about his expansion. Now, what do you think your timing will be as far as uplisting? I've spoken to several people that hold positions in your company, and they realize once you do get to the bulletin board, you have not only a better shot at financing, but you have a better shot at being more stable than the pink sheets. I don't know if I agree with that, but that's the general thought out there. It's a better exchange. What do you think you're looking at in timetable? I know you had a few bumps in the road, as they say, but you seem to have that all resolved.
Yeah, and we're still continuing to work on a few things. We had started an initiative to uplist a couple of years ago. We started the audit process, and at that time, we have bond financing out of the UK, which created secondary audits there with different currencies, and we had currency fluctuations, and it became a little bit complicated for the size company we were at the time, and so we have a lot of our base audit material done with our auditor, and we were looking to do it, but the timing of being able to get an audit completed in the UK and then flow it over for the size company we were just was not practical. We'd spend all our time doing audit work and not working on the business, and that was one of the reasons why we had held it on the pinks, because we didn't want to be handcuffed to working half our day on SEC filings as opposed to working and growing the business. Yeah, there's an appropriate time to uplist. When a company can hire the appropriate people and has enough revenue to be able to self-support it, that's the time. Now, where we want to go, I'm not sure my site would be set necessarily on a OTC QB listing. I think that it's hard to differentiate between the pinks and the OTC bulletin board, or QB as it's now called. Where you really want to be is the QX, and that's assets, revenue, price, and that's really where our site is set, because then we've really differentiated ourselves. Now we're in a different market, and now we have a bigger access to capital, or we can choose to uplist to a NASDAQ. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. We're not there yet. But that to me is the process. For me to simply start filing and list just to say we did it, that might make some shareholders happy, and then they can think that we've accomplished something, but it doesn't really benefit the business unless we're really going after the market, right? So we talked about financing. We talk about going and getting financing. What is that? That becomes dilutive. That becomes you're putting stock out, or you're doing something that could have some overhang. And so we're just being very careful about the steps that we take.
You take on a great responsibility financially too. It costs about $120,000 a year to maintain a bulletin board company, which is a significant increase from a pink sheet. So that's another burden on a young company scrapped for cash. And then when you go ahead and you miss a filing, well, guess what? You're back on the pink sheets all over again.
Absolutely.
I see it too many times.
You're considered a pink. You can be a fully reporting entity, and you're still a pink.
Yeah,
Unless
I mean,
you pay a
Toyota's
fee,
on the
you know,
pink
so-
sheets. It's the oldest
Yeah.
exchange in the United States. People don't know that, but
Yeah.
pink
Well,
sheets have been around.
Nestle, right?
There's a lot
Nestle
of
is on the
companies,
pink, yeah.
major companies that rather stay on the pinks because they're not handcuffed like you are when you're on a
Absolutely.
higher exchange. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the pink sheets, but some people tend to frown on them. And you see it, what's happened lately. Everybody got a yield sign because of something the pink sheets did. I mean, I know companies that have been fully reporting forever, and they got a yield sign, and they can't explain it away. So they've been hammering pink
Right.
sheets saying, why do I have a yield sign when I'm fully reporting? It's because they had a glitch, not that anybody else did. So that's the way. Some people just don't like the company that runs the pink sheets.
Yeah. Well,
That's what I'm finding.
I won't speak down about anybody in particular, but they did change. They changed some of the reporting formats. They changed some of the requirements of the attorney letters, and so what happens is you think everything is done, and then you get a comment back from OTC Markets saying, "Hey, you missed something in your attorney letter." And now, how long does it take to get the attorney to rewrite it, get it resubmitted? Then there's a 2 to 5 day processing. In the meantime, you're on a yield, and that's happened to us this time.
It's happened to
I kind of
everybody,
pride
just
myself
about.
in never being delinquent, right? I mean, I've been in the business for 15 plus years, and whether it was fully reporting companies, pink sheet companies, never been delinquent.
No.
I don't file late, and to get a yield, it's kind of like, how'd that happen? And it comes down to it was an administrative technicality on a change that they required in the format of the letter that was not caught. So,
Right.
anyways, it
Nice-
is what
nice
it
of
is.
them
So
to
you're
tell
right.
you.
There's a smattering of them.
Not nice of them to tell you. We're going to go to commercial break, come back with Bill Wright from Seagrowth Capital. Okay, I'm the Mixter. You're on 1470 here in sunny Fort Lauderdale. We'll be back right after this. Hey, good folks, the Mixter here. Now, you've heard me sing the praises of RP Summit for, the better part of a year. Let me tell you something about RP Summit. In business, everybody's fishing from the same ocean. Well, RP Summit gives you a better type of bait, and he puts more lines in the water. He's been in business for about 15 years, and let me tell you this. Automotive, medical, business to business, they all swear by the good work of RP Summit, rpsummit.com. They'll generate traffic. They'll generate leads. They'll convert to dollars. What good is having 100 people come to your website if nobody spends 5 cents? Well, they recognize that. And they bring you the talent, and they bring you the people and the affordability that you're looking for to build your business. rpsummit.com. Log on today. Tell them the Mixter sent you. .325 back on the air. I'm the Mixter here on 1470. Talking business today on a Friday. Dow's up about 34 points. NASDAQ hovering around 20 points down as we come into a weekend. We're on right now with Mr. Bill Wright from Seagrowth Capital, which is a fine little company that has a grow facility out in Washington State. They have a Tier 3 license. They're getting into the CBD business, which we should see shortly. Their symbol is CGRA, and they're trading. You trade rather healthy lately. You had about 7-8 million shares traded the other day. People are picking up on this.
Yeah, we are. We're seeing a little bit of turnover and some new people coming in. It's exciting.
I guess it'll get more exciting when you finally break out with the CBD oil. I mean, there's no shortage of it. But the quality, listen, it's going to be the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I've spoken to people, they go out and they make the product and then they don't have any marketing. If you market it properly and you get into the stores and you do the shows like the other companies did. You build your herd where people just say, well, you know what? They got a better product, a better mousetrap, and I'm going to stick with them for a while. And then they just keep it snowballs. And I've watched it happen over and over again with other companies. You're going to follow something along that pattern, or have you figured it out in your business plan just what you're going to do to market this product?
Yeah, it's all about customer retention, isn't it? You spend a lot of money to go get a customer, and I think people lose sight of that. These groups that you mentioned earlier in the show where they are using inferior product. They're not sticky, so they're spending tons of money to pick up a customer. They give them an inferior product, and then they lose the customer. Well, you're going backwards. We're more about making sure that we have good quality vendors that are putting out high quality product, and that once we land a customer, we keep them as a repeat customer. So that's it. It'll start to snowball and start to grow. If I'm spending all my money to find a new customer every week and I have nobody coming back, like I said, we're going to go backwards, and that's not the plan. So.
That's a business model followed by a company that does about 22 to 24% of the total market. They're a company very few people have ever heard of it. The name of the company is called Charlotte's Web. They're trading roughly between $18 and $24, and they have about 22% of the market right now. And they don't have a cannabis name, just Charlotte's Web. That's it. And you can look them up. And you say to yourself, how did they do it? They did it by putting out a very, very good product at a reasonable price, and they built their herd quietly. And their following has just been phenomenal, and that's why they're trading so healthy. Again, a company, they got about a $1.7 billion market cap. And look it up. I don't have the symbol off the top of my head, but the name of the company is Charlotte's Web. But to capture 22% of a market that's in its infancy, they're going to be in the catbird seat when this finally just takes off. When you look at $250 billion a year, if you captured 10% of that, that's $25 billion a year in sales. They're at 22% now. They would have to lose 12%. That's phenomenal.
It is phenomenal. I think
that's why you're looking at $20 price.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these new companies, they think that they have to jump on board with some kind of cannabis name to take advantage of the existing market. But the existing market is tiny. The existing market is, like I said, it might be 4% of the public that really is aware and using these products. We're not about that. We're not about capturing somebody that's been a legacy user. We're looking at educating and picking up the person that doesn't know about it, that realizes there's great health benefits to using natural products, and then sticking with them. They're the ones that are gonna stick. They're not gonna be looking for cheap products. They're looking for good quality products, and that's where our market is, and that's where we're leaning towards.
I'll tell you, to get into this business, you got to have real deep pockets. Another fellow that I had on the show back in 2015, Bob Culkin. He has Cannabis Career Institute. He's been in business forever. He does little seminars all over town, comes into Palm Beach. He's a California guy. He walks you through getting into the business, from licensing to meeting requirements, the whole 9 yards. He does these seminars with 300 people, and he's sold out everywhere he goes all over the country, and he has been for the last 4 years. I mean, it's amazing how many people really want to get into this, but they just don't have the capacity to do it, and they don't have the knowledge. And that's when you really can get hammered. I mean, you've been doing this for a long time. Your company's around for how long now? About 6-7 years or longer?
Well, the company itself is a 30-year company, but I've been actively at the helm for probably last 6-7 years, and we've been in this industry for over 3 years now. Which is basically at the start, when it basically started and was legalized in Washington, when we kind of stepped in and started supporting that industry. And again, the 2018 Farm Bill just opened it up for this new market.
Well, you're in the right place at the right time. I mean, it's just a question of if you can get to the finish line. You got a good head start on everybody else out there. I mean, you got the facility that basically is operational. You got plenty of room for expansion. You got 47 acres to go ahead and build out. And now you're going jumping into a business that's completely legal in all 50 states, which is the CBD business, and that's only going to get bigger. It's just a question. You seem to be in a better place. Your stock is a little bit depressed right now, which for me, I can't figure out why, because I look at these other companies that are doing better. They don't have a grow facility. They don't have any expertise. All they have is they put this stuff, somebody bottles it for them, they slap a label on it, and they go out and sell it. They really don't own anything. When you think about it.
Good opportunity. It's a good opportunity. And, you mentioned we have now an opportunity in all 50 states, but it's beyond that. And I think, we both touched on that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a global opportunity. We're working right now with partnerships on groups that have, footholds in lots of other countries. And so we're really looking to leverage what we have, not just on a small scale, but like I said, across, that entire spectrum, and really leveraging the relationships that we have. It's hard to say that you've been in the business very long, because if you were kind of in the black market, right?
Right.
But we have a lot of people that we know and are working with that, have been, and they know the business, they have the contacts, and it's become more of a business endeavor, which we are. It's not under the radar. It's not black market. It's people that know, they know manufacturing, they know distribution, they know what product quality is, and that is where we're staking our claim, staking our flag.
I got to tell you, product quality. You talk about the Chinese; they've been importing this stuff, and from what I understand, is the government's going to block them. The stuff is pure garbage, just like the Chinese drywall. Just like the pet products that they sent in where animals were dying all over the place. And their inferior product they shipped in, I believe they already took steps to block it from coming into the country because it's inferior. It isn't what they say it is. It's been tested. And that was 1/3 of the imports in the United States was CBD oil from China. And it is pure garbage. And I've been told that by about 10 people in the industry. Some of them actually even bought it from them. And they tested it, and they found out it wasn't what they said. So anything grown here in America, crushed here in America, in these borders, or even Canada for that matter, you got to consider is a superior product. Now, I've done a lot of research, and they say some of the best hemp is grown in Washington State and in Tennessee, as far as hemp goes. Because hemp, you can grow it anywhere, provided it's not marijuana. And that's where the best I guess in Kentucky too, Kentucky bluegrass. Those are the seeds, the areas. California is more of a controlled environment. I don't really know. I hear there's, just a lot of grow facilities there and a lot of dispensaries. As there are 1,600 in Vegas dispensaries alone. I mean, they're on every corner. I never seen anything like it. But and there's only 2 million people. I mean, it's just like everybody gets their own dispensary. I mean, it's crazy. But it is exploding.
Capturing all the visitors, right? Capturing all the visitors.
Yeah, and you know what's funny about that? They're doing about 60% CBD oil compared to the weed. I mean, people go in there, you figure they're going to go ahead and get high. They're going in there for health. They're not going in there to get high. I mean, I find that amazing. Just before I left, and I lived out in Vegas for 3 months, I got back here around 1st of March, back to Florida. And, you ask questions. I had my show out there. I interviewed some local people. And it was the CBD oil was bringing them to the dispensaries because they had more of a variation. And they also carried bakery products that had it in there. The ancillary businesses on this thing, they're going to get rich. From pastry places that have switched off from making crumb buns, now they're making all CBD products, all edibles. People are eating it, and they're eating it. It tastes good, but it's healthy for you because it has the ingredients in there, that promote good health. I haven't seen anybody OD on a CBD tablet, or no pets. Everybody who takes it rants and raves about it, how good it is, for arthritis and everything else. And I know people right here, very locally in South Florida, that are taking this stuff regularly. They got away from vitamins. I just don't get it. It's just a tremendous. And it's not a fad. It's going to last for a long, long time. When you hear Coca-Cola and you hear Walmart and you hear Costco and you hear all the big giants getting involved in this, that's got to tell you something.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's like maybe you take a CBD pill in the morning. It's kind of like feeling like maybe you had a little bit of little coffee, a little caffeine. You're more aware. You're more awake. People say they have a lot more clarity. They can think better. They feel more awake in the morning. It's had personally just some direct health benefits for both of my sister-in-laws. It's interesting, and I think you talk about ancillary products and edibles. A lot of us grew up in that time when it was taboo to smoke, right? So people stay away from that. But an edible is different. Having a small edible is not so taboo, but lighting up has potential negative health benefits, right? And now there's lots of discussion about whether vaping is good or bad for you because you can take it in that way too. So I agree with you. A huge market opportunity for those side businesses.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. We'll be following you. You'll be back on the show. We'll take you in again, and we'll talk about the progress you made. Again, it's Seagrowth Capital. The symbol is CGRA. And I got to say, Bill, you're doing a good job, and I just hope you continue on. I wish you the best of luck. And if there's anything, any updates or anything, please let us know about it.
Well, I definitely appreciate that, and I look forward to being back with you, Mick.
Very soon, too. Okay? Thanks again for calling in. Bill Wright.
You betcha. Cheers.
Right? Okay, CBD oil, he's got it all. Washington Grow Facilities, the symbol CGRA. Take a look at it. See what you can come up with this one. It's a pretty good one. I'll be back. I'm going to a break. I'll come back in a minute. Okay, but before I go, just remember this. A lot of lawyers out there. You got lawyers all over the place. I call them cookie-cutter lawyers. A lot of these lawyers never even go to trial. I mean, they just take your money. If they collect, they collect, or they give you that, well, if you don't get paid, we don't get paid. Well, everybody does that. Okay, some lawyers don't. Chris Fitz, he might not do that. He might say, go ahead, you get it all, and then I'll go after my legal fees separate from what your settlement is. Not a cookie-cutter. They know that he's a trial lawyer. He will come and he'll take you to trial. And he can do that because he's got 4 or 5 of the best investigators with over 100 years of investigative work, not only from the Sheriff's Department and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, but the FBI. So he's able to get to the bottom. Insurance companies, they have batteries of lawyers. Why don't you get somebody who'll fight for you, and he'll fight for you 100%. When you call him, he picks up the phone. He gets back to a lot of times, lawyers, you can't get them. They disappear. They know how it is. I mean, everybody's been down there. But if you got injured or you let's say you slipped, you fell, you got in a car accident, whatever it is, he's no ambulance chaser. You're not going to see him with PF flyers on his feet, running through hospitals, handing out cards. That's not what he does. The law offices of Chris Fitz. Fantastic. 727-314-9765. That's 727-314-9765. Chris Fitz, he'll set you up. Bob the Mixter will be back in 2 minutes right after this. Attention, doctors, car lots. I don't care what type of business you're in. Let's face it, you all need traffic. And nobody drives traffic, and I'm talking about traffic that brings you dollars, than RP Summit and rpsummit.com. Yep, they're here now in South Florida. They've taken over the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia. Everybody knows who RP Summit is because RP Summit drives you traffic. Let's face it, if you give me $1 on a Monday, and I give you back $4 on a Wednesday, the only thing you should be thinking about is giving me more dollars. Well, that's what RP Summit does. They are the best in the business at driving real traffic to your website or to your business. Because let's face it, it's all about getting bodies, getting people to find you. What good is having a website if nobody knows where you are? Let's face it. I mean, what are they just going to pull it out of the air? Of course not. Well, RP Summit's been driving people to businesses now for over 20 years and successful. And the fact is, once you hire them, you're never going to fire them. I suggest you look at rpsummit.com or give them a call for a free consultation at 856-424-7222. That's rpsummit.com. They will drive traffic like you've never seen before. And believe me, once you get them, you'll never get rid of them. You'll say, why didn't I do this before? It's simple. You didn't know about them, but now you do, so there's no excuse. Pick up a phone, 856-424-7222. rpsummit.com, the best in the business. 3:42 on a Freaky Friday here in Fort Lauderdale. Things are cranking along right away. You know, it's funny because RP Summit is the best in the business. I mean, I like these people. They get websites. Oh, yeah, I got 400,000 views. And what'd you sell? I didn't sell anything. But I got 400,000 people who came here. Well, what good is that? Okay, you want to transform. You want to convert to dollars so you can spend money in the weekend, so you can go out to dinner, so you can buy a better car, new threads. All right, but hits, though, you can't cash those in. It's almost like cryptocurrencies. How do you get your money out? Anybody stop to think about that? What about all these people that went into Bitcoin? I mean, $18,000, $19,000 for a coin that don't even exist. 20,000. People will buy a tenth of a fraction of a coin. I mean, isn't that insanity? I mean, I haven't seen anything that bad. I read, I'm a history major. I read back that tulips were once, back around the 12th or 14th century, were a commodity, and that's basically how Denmark and Sweden and all those countries ran their currencies using tulips. And the plant, tulips, plant, flower. All right, and that the whole currency was based on that. A lot like the Bahamas, the whole currency over there, the whole gross national product revolves around the straw market. And when the straw market burned in Nassau some years back, it was like a depression over there, because I went over there. I used to go over there a lot. You know, it's crazy when you think about it, different things. Our economy is strictly cash. C-A-S-H, cash. Because credit will get you in trouble. I mean, anybody who has credit knows that. Next thing you know, you got 2-3 credit cards. They're maxed out. You get 2-3 more. They're maxed out. Next thing you know, you're living in a cardboard box in San Francisco. I mean, and that's basically how it is. America runs on credit, they say. But sometimes credit does dry up. And that's why even in the stock market, you see people that are stock heavy. They got too much. Well, I can't sell. I'll lose too much. If I average down, I don't have any money. I got to put it on my credit card. Anybody who borrows money on their credit cards to play the stock market should go check themselves into Bellevue Hospital, because that's insanity. What you do is you play with money you can afford to lose. And that's how you got to think about it. It's like going to the racetrack. You drop $500. Well, you drop the rent money. Now what? If you could afford to lose $500, some people could afford to lose $5,000, $50,000. They go to Vegas like maniacs. I see them. I know who they are. I was one of them once, but no more. Due to circumstances beyond my control, the mixer is not gambling anymore. Okay, which is mainly because I don't have the money to lose. If I had the money to lose, perhaps we would gamble again. But I remember going out there 10, 15 times a year with Jeff DeForest. Defo and I would go out there. We ruled the casino. We were either we get paid $10,000 to cover a fight. We lose 20 at the tables. What was the point of this exercise? We did win. We had winning days where we came back winning. But you only remember the winning days. You don't remember the miserable 5-hour plane ride home thinking about the money you just lost. But that's gambling. If you do your research in the stock market and you look at a company and you see what kind of assets they have, you look at their management, okay, you look at longevity, they could be at 2 cents. Microsoft was at a penny for years before it went through the roof. It didn't happen overnight. Nothing happens overnight. The only thing that happens overnight is losing money at the racetrack. But in the stock market, if you do your research and you look at the market that these people are involved in, you're going to be fine. Remember the dot-com era? Sure, a lot of people got crushed. But how many millionaires came out of the dot-com era back in 1997, 98, 99? It was total madness. The biggest thing we were selling in the United States back then were jets, small jets, from people who 4 years earlier couldn't get a car loan, were buying Lears and Gulfstreams. But that's a fact. Cannabis is the new .com. It's a lot of these companies will not be around, just like the .coms. They all you look at the ones that came out of the ground. eBay, there was 100 companies like eBay. Only eBay stays. Look at Priceline. They survived. They went down. Other companies came out. They're there. They've still got competition. Expedia, Orbitz. I mean, they're out there. But they survived. And it'll be the same way here. Whether you think Walmart's going to get into the business of manufacturing their own CBD oil, they're not going to do that. They're going to carry a plethora of good products. They'll private label some of their own stuff. But basically, it's going to be good products. Same thing with Publix. You can actually go to Publix now and get CBD-based products. Did you ever imagine that? Walgreens, they have a whole section just dedicated to that now. Walmart, they're getting into it. Costco, they're getting into it. Coca-Cola, getting into it. Now, you got to remember the history of Coca-Cola. It was originally cocaine in the soda, which got people addicted. Sigmund Freud called it the greatest thing to cure all your ailments, including depression. And then when people got wired out on it, they outlawed cocaine in 1912 and they replaced it with caffeine. Coca-Cola, by the way, is the most successful stock in the history of Wall Street. It's split since then maybe 250 times. Up until the 1960s, it was 3,000 shares, 3,000 or 4,000, 5,000 for one share. It wasn't until the advent of computers that somebody figured out, you know what, we could split these companies over and over again, and we could go after different investors that have IRAs, that have 401ks, and you may sit there and say, well, I'm not into the market. Well, if you have a 401k or an IRA or something along those lines, they're about 95% sure you are in the market somewhere. Somewhere, I guarantee it. And you can tell by looking at your IRA or your 401k, since President Trump has gotten to the White House, it's gone up 3, 4, 5 times what it was. At least doubled since 2016. At least. Unless you got a real schmuck who handles your money. Because anybody else would say, wow, I can't believe my IRA, I got all this money in that. Where'd it come from? Am I a genius? No. You got a great market. Now's the time to say to yourself, thank you, Mr. President, because without him, you would certainly not be where you are right now. Now, whether or not it holds there, that's another thing. If you retire in the next year or two and cash out, you might be lucky. If he loses the election, I would cash out and take the loss. Because it's only going to, I think the market will slam if he didn't win the election, which I think he will win. Okay, very hard to beat an incumbent. The first Bush, Herbert Walker Bush, he would have won, hands down. It would have been a landslide. But Ross Perot came in and took 27% of the vote. He took mostly Republicans. And Bill Clinton was catapulted into the White House. And even then, he didn't win by much. You see what I'm saying? Things happen in elections. Now, if somebody came out, if what's his name from Starbucks decides to run as an independent or as a sovereign nation or whatever this guy wants to run at, it's going to swipe Democratic votes. It won't swipe the Republican votes as much, but it will swipe a lot of Democratic votes, which means he's going to walk into the White House again. And I hope he does, because he certainly deserves, if production and work ethic and production give you another contract with the American people, I think he's more than qualified. And I'll stand to that because I haven't seen anything. You can look at the news until you're blue in the face. They haven't proved anything. And there's no collusion. There's no the conspiracy seems to be on the other side of the coin. We'll know soon. Okay? We'll know soon when Attorney General Barr calls everybody in. And he will, because he does not care. This guy was appointed Attorney General of all people. Okay? And he seems to be doing a pretty damn good job. I mean, he don't care. You can't insult him. He's going to run right to the course. He's been there before. It's not a new job. It is what it is, So I particularly like the job that's being done in Washington. And you're right, it is a deep state. I mean, you see Comey, now they're all starting to give each other up. This is going to be interesting the next 6 months. Get the popcorn out. You're going to see McCabe rat Comey out. Comey's going to rat the CIA director. He's going down. Watch what happens here. Because Attorney General Barr, he's going to do what's the right thing to do. This guy has nothing to lose. He don't need the money. He's on the back end of a terrific career. You're not going to be able to bribe this guy. You're not going to be able to scare him. He's run an impeccable life. He's got that smile on his face all the time. Reminds me of Pompeo. He's always got that smile on that I guess you could say it's like a dolphin smile. It's just embedded in his face. And I haven't seen him really hostile, but if you listen to him speak, he tends to say what he believes. I mean, I don't see any strings on him. He's out there doing exactly what he wants, and I guess the president has to trust his judgment. I know I would. He's a brilliant man. And just like I trust Attorney General Barr, I think he'll do the right thing. If there's malfeasance there, he'll find it, and those people will be brought to justice. And if there isn't, then let it go. Now let's get on with the everyday madness that we seem to enjoy the last few years. What are the TV networks going to do once Trump's gone? What are they going to do? They're going to be running reruns of Flipper like the rest of them. Okay, you're going to have Julia Child's cooking again taped. I mean, she's been dead for 40 years. But the point is, I'm saying, what do you do to amuse your audience? What do you do once Trump is gone? I mean, news just becomes news again. It'd be like the days of Huntley and Brinkley, if you're old enough to remember him, or Walter Cronkite, where you could actually believe the news, or Frank Reynolds. These were great news people. These were people that inspired me as a child, that I said to myself, boy, one day I'd like to do something like that. But unfortunately it didn't work out that well. That's why I'm here in front of you. Okay, but the point is, they were inspiring, and they read the news, and very rare did they come off their news. Sometimes they read the teleprompter, sometimes they had the script right in front of them, sometimes it came off the top of their head. But they were always truthful, and when they said something, you could believe it. There was believability back then. That's all lost today. I don't see it. I don't see it anyway. You don't know who to believe. I tend to lean toward Fox because they substantiate it. You don't hear them getting contradicted for what they say like you do CNN. The Russian collusion thing they fed down our throat for 2 years. Every station, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, over and over and over again. Turned out to be nothing. Absolutely nothing. And the ones that colluded were really Hillary Clinton. What happened to Tony Podesta and John Podesta? They took down millions from the Russians. He was going to get indicted about a year and a half ago. We never heard anything about it. And where to go? Grand jury met on him. It's sealed. Hasn't been opened yet, but it's sealed. That's what they're saying. What are they waiting for? When are they going to spring this? I mean, when people get indicted, they get indicted. That's it. They open it, the judge reads it, and off you go to court. But nothing's been said. It's just like vanished. I mean, how many people went to jail? I mean, Robert Mueller did a hell of a job. He had to look under every rock. He certainly had an unlimited budget. He spent every dollar of it. He didn't have anybody on his team, 13 lawyers, 19 lawyers. They hated him. They hated the president. Most of them were Hillary supporters. Two or three of them even attended the victory party. It didn't happen, thank God. But the point was, I mean, he picked strict, lifelong Democrats, and they came up with absolutely nothing on the guy. I mean, when did they stop talking about it? They just can't let it go. I mean, they took control of the House, and they turned it into basically a clown show. They haven't passed one law. It's just since Trump, the president, they haven't passed one law. They're there working for us, grabbing paychecks. 50 years Schumer's been getting paid, and Pelosi, for more than 50 years with Pelosi. And she makes $170,000 a year, yet she amassed a fortune, over $100 million. Where'd that come from? They talk about the president's tax returns. What about those people in Congress? You got a bartender, AOC. A bartender. Nothing against bartenders. Some of my best people. I love them. But the point is, She went out the other day and spent $40,000 on clothes and purses, pocketbooks and shoes. Where'd that money come from? I mean, I'll tell you where it came from. It comes from Washington. Washington, the root of all evil. That's Washington. Remember that. They talk about the Beltway. There are more Rolls Royces in Washington than there is in Palm Beach and in Palm Springs, California. Go figure. These are government people who work there. They all feast off the government. Your dollars, my dollars, your kids' money, my kids' money, my grandkids' money. Whose birthday's this week, by the way. My little Jackson, going to be 2. My grandson. Looking forward to going back up to Tampa Bay. I hope you enjoyed it. We had a good company on today. CGRA, symbol, nice guy, Bill Wright. I wish him well. I hope he does really well in the cannabinoid business. And I think they're going to be around a long time because they have the both ends of the spectrum, as they say. They're a grower, and now they're getting into the other side, which is quite lucrative. No restrictions. Even though they have the Series 3 license, which I do know costs about $1 million or more, if you can get one. They call it a Tier 3. It's the most coveted license in the business. You could also open a dispensary, I believe, with that license. I'm not sure. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy yourselves. If you're a little banged up from all the stuff that goes on, just relax. Have yourself a vodka and tonic. I'll be heading back to the West Coast, back to Tampa Bay. And if you're on that side, catch me on 1010. Okay, go Buccaneers, right? So long, Dolphins. See you later. I'm the Mixter. Thanks for looking in. Catch you next time.